Welcome to The World This Week. I'm joined this Friday by Christopher Dickey from The Daily Beast and Andrei Neto from the weekly paper O Estado de São Paulo. Thank you very much to you both for being with me. Now, we're just hours to go before the Olympic party begins. Rio is our first stop this Friday, obviously, and it's been a long and complicated journey to get to this point. Between political chaos, security issues spanning from favela crime to terror threats, environmental concerns, and of course the Zika virus, not forgetting the Russian doping scandal. Brazil has certainly had its work cut out for it. And now it's been announced that Pelé will not be lighting the Olympic flame this evening. So, gentlemen, can Brazil still hope to win gold for hosting these games? Andrei?
The question about Pelé, actually, I think it's a bad thing for the better, actually. Pelé is not... He's a huge sportsman and he's hugely important in Brazil. But he's not an Olympic athlete, and I think we can
do you think take the focus
enjoy
away?
this opportunity to give the opportunity to another people, like Gustavo Kirten, for example, or many others. So it's a bad thing, not that bad.
Okay. Well, has there been such controversy and trouble coming up to an Olympic event like this?
Well,
it's a convergence of issues.
You always hear that there's terrible problems coming up to the Olympics, and then somehow it all clears up a few days ahead of time. But that's not the case.
No, it's not.
Things haven't cleared up, and you've got all these incidents. You know, this one incredibly strange incident, a shooting on the street not far from the Olympic venues, where a man tried to break into a car where the driver was in it, and the driver was a man who claimed he was working for the Russian consulate, but probably not, but did know jiu-jitsu, took the gun away from the robber and shot him dead. I mean, it's great drama anyway, but it also indicates that the streets are not very safe. And our correspondent who's there, was visiting the beach volleyball venue, and the back of the stadium is just this massive rusting rebar, and it's a disaster. It'll be ready, but just ready enough. And that's sort of the theme of what we're hearing coming out of Brazil, is that things will be ready, but they're not really going to be up to standard.
But is that a sign of how much of an unexpected turn for the worse Brazil has taken in recent months, or was part of this at least predictable?
I leave that to Andrei.
I think the world press, the foreign journalists are understanding better how Brazil works, actually. And this is our reality in the day-by-day basis. Actually, the urban violence is there every single day for the Brazilian people. And nowadays we are discovering this whole problem in the international press. The things about the structure, infrastructure, transport, and everything else. That's our reality. Now we're making the world
aware of it.
Aware of it, but
Yeah, but, that was your reality, and we reported that when Brazil got the Olympics in 2009. But the idea was, as it always is, this is all going to get cleaned up somehow. In the 7 years between 2009 and the present, it was all going to be taken care of. The amazing thing is that almost none of it was taken care of.
You know what? I was there in Copenhagen in 2009 during the choice. And I remember the fact that the Brazilian exposition regarding Rio, in this exposition, there was no favelas in the whole videos. There were no favelas.
That's wonderful.
So, can you imagine Rio de Janeiro without favelas?
No.
I asked that question
Can the
to the
IOC
Brazilian
said it didn't
president
know?
at that time, Lula, and I said, "Look, President, there was no favelas in your video." In presentation yesterday, and he said, "Look, we're not saying we're cleaning, we'll clean up all the mess in Rio, but we're trying to present Rio in a different way." Come on,
A fictional way.
fictional way,
Yeah.
Maybe a fictional way. We've been dreaming about the reality of Brazil in the last decade, I'd say, and we're facing now the reality.
But shouldn't the IOC have seen that this was a dream and perhaps maybe waited a bit longer before handing this over to Brazil?
Well, I think they wanted to have an Olympics in Latin America. And then the question becomes
Where else?
where? I don't remember, but I don't think that Buenos Aires was making a bid. I don't know who else was making a bid from Latin America. But Rio would be the obvious city in many ways. It's big, and at the time, in 2009, Brazil seemed to be on a roll. It seemed to be rich. Everybody seemed to be making money. The economy was growing. This was, remember, the great era of the BRICS. When that was the future of the world economy, was supposed to be Brazil, Russia, India, China. All that was supposed to happen. Well, it didn't happen, and now we've got a terrible economic crisis in Brazil. People are very upset. We're about to have the president, Dilma Rousseff, is about to be impeached. The people who are trying to impeach her are famously corrupt themselves. And it's not an environment where you can fix things at the last minute.
And regional leaders themselves are not coming. They're not coming to the ceremony this evening. That's quite telling as well.
I think there's a different explanation for this. It's the political crisis. It's the lack of legitimacy of this government in place for now. There are questions on how this whole impeachment proceeding will end at the end of the day. So many presidents and many prime ministers are asking, why should I, appear in this photo if this
somebody will be in
is
jail
not,
next week?
That's it. So I think it's a pretty obvious answer for this question.
And if Rio is a bust, will it reflect badly on the rest of South America?
No, I don't think it'll reflect badly on the rest of South America, but I think it'll be a long time before there's another Olympics in South America.
And how about the shadow of doping? Is that looming large with the Russian situation?
Sure. I mean, look at what a controversy. You've got Russia's team. It looks like the whole team is going to be excluded, and then no, it's going to be judged on an individual basis. But the reason the whole team was going to be excluded is because the Russian state was involved with a massive doping operation going back generations. And finally, they're being caught out on it. So no, you don't want to punish individual athletes, but as somebody said, they could have competed under the Olympic flag, not the Russian flag. The question is the Russian flag flying there.
That's it. And I think this is the second dark side of the whole Olympic Games in Rio. And for once, this is not the fault of the Brazilian people and the Brazilian government. It's a matter of sports politics and
well, it's not as clean as, say, FIFA.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go back into the history of the Olympic movement and the history of FIFA, there was this sort of terrible partnership that developed 30 years or so ago, where both those organizations realized just how much money they could make if they could get rid of especially the Olympic movement could get rid of all this amateur competition thing, and they could have professionals come in, they could start to have all that money, all that advertising, all that sponsorship, all that stuff going on, and they just became huge cash-generating machines for people like Sepp Blatter and in FIFA and various people in the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, who were eventually forced out in all kinds of corruption scandals. But I'm sure there's still corruption.
All right, well, let's move now to our second topic of the week. The Republican campaign appears to be coming apart at the seams in the wake of Donald Trump's comments last week regarding the parents of a Muslim soldier who died in the line of duty. Now, add to that the billionaire's refusal to back House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senator John McCain in their congressional re-election bids, and the announcement by a number of GOP-affiliated business leaders that they're throwing their support behind Hillary Clinton. And to top it all off, questions have now been raised about the immigration history of Trump's Slovenian-born wife, Melania, and she's already been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Now, Trump hasn't exactly pulled his punches since the beginning of this campaign, but this time his antics do appear to be having an effect, especially with polling figures. Clinton's lead is growing. Why? What's changed?
Well, I think that he really had a very bad week. I mean, he picked a lot of the wrong fights. One of the things that people are beginning to be bothered about with Trump is that he is so thin-skinned, is that he reacts to any kind of insult or criticism. And his idea is that I'm going to be more truculent, more aggressive. I'm going to come back at you. I'm going to make you suffer for whatever you said about him, whatever you did that annoyed him. So he picked a fight with Khizr Khan and his family, who lost a son in Iraq, fighting for America, heroically defending the people who were serving with him. And he won't let it go. He keeps going after them. I mean, and then there was a silly incident where a baby is crying in a crowd, and he talks about the baby. First he says, "Oh, I love babies, but when the baby isn't quiet anymore, he says, "Get that baby out of here." You know, and it's like, people are like, what? And the question that's being asked by Hillary Clinton's people again and again, sometimes quietly, sometimes not so quietly, is this the kind of man that you want to have with atomic weapons at his disposal? This kind of man that you want to have running the biggest defense establishment in the world? And the answer is everybody within the establishment is saying no, including just today, the former head of the CIA is saying, I'm going to vote for Hillary. But all that doesn't mean that he's going to lose.
That's right, because it's a long way to November 8th, isn't it?
It's a long way till November. A lot could happen to Hillary. And, you know, he has this core support that somehow digs all this stuff.
But the military family, he hasn't hit on religion yet, but, well, apart from Muslim faith.
Apart from
Islam. You know, but I mean, not on the Catholic
well,
faith.
he also didn't like the Pope. He criticized
That's true.
You know,
So,
I mean, there's almost nobody. Who is it that he doesn't criticize? Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin never gets criticized. And when even in the Republican platform, the one critical part of the platform that basically was defending Ukraine was taken out at the insistence of Trump's people. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about a really strange dude running for president, but a lot of angry Americans whose anger has gotten heated up because they're told all the time they should be angry, whether they started out that way or not. You got to be angry. This is the thing. You got to rage against the machine. And so, you know, it's like a movie from many years ago where people started shouting, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." And that's where we are with Trump. A lot of people are responding to that rage without having any answer to how to deal with the real problems that cause it.
And a lot more outside are worried.
Yeah, that's what I think very worrying, disturbing, actually. There is a part, at least, of the public opinion, American public opinion in this case, open to this speech. And it's pretty much the same situation on the Brexit referendum in Britain, or even here in Paris regarding terrorism, Muslim communities, etc. But there are a public opinion open to this hate kind of speech.
Anger. It's not just hate, it's anger. And anger is an easy emotion to work with for a politician. It's easy to get people to vote because of anger. It's hard to get them to vote because of what they're thinking about, because of analysis of the situation. You know, that's why you listen to Trump, and he has great punchlines about anger, and you listen to Hillary Clinton, and she said, "Now I'm going to explain to you how this all works."
That's right, and this controversy should be a boon for Clinton and her camp. Are they handling this right?
Well, it's hard to tell, because they're basically letting Trump hang himself as much as possible right now. They don't want to make any mistakes, and I think they're going to start coming on, so I say, they're going to start coming on very strong after Labor Day, that is, after the beginning of September.
But
what I think it's important to understand the whole picture is the fact that Hillary Clinton is the face of the establishment in the States. And this is not a good candidate to face a guy who is denouncing the establishment all the time, even if he is, by his side, a face of the establishment also. But if we could have a Democratic candidate more open to all these contestations regarding the establishment, maybe it would be easier to face Donald Trump.
That was the idea with Bernie Sanders, actually.
Yeah.
He was perhaps too far.
Some of the strength of Bernie Sanders. Yeah, you know, it's sort of sad. I mean, Hillary Clinton in 2008 looked like a revolutionary candidate. She was going to be the first woman president. That really signified change, even though she was part of the old Clinton machine. Now she is only seen as the establishment. I mean, yes, women see her as the first woman president, but it doesn't have a revolutionary feel to it. That feels like yesterday's news. And she is very much this picture of the status quo.
Well, it looks like just coming in, it looks like Trump is perhaps changing his mind now. His endorsement of Ryan is expected later this Friday at an event. So
Well, you know, he's going to change his position many times. And he's never held accountable for any of these things. He lies every day, multiple times. Everybody in the press has kept track of his lies again and again and again. But it's such an avalanche of lies that by the time you've caught one, you're being overwhelmed by the others. It's an amazing strategy.
And can the Republicans let him self-destruct?
Well, if he self-destructs and he has sort of negative coattails, which means that they lose the Senate, and I mean, they would die if they lost the House, that would be pretty extraordinary, and that's what they're beginning to fear. But it's not necessarily going to work that way.
Okay, well, thank you very much to you both. That's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Christopher Dickey and Andrea Netto. Thank you both, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.